Well, I think that we should go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here today. We really appreciate it. We love to, help in any way that we can and provide trainings. This is our last for the spring semester, so we're excited. Today, we're going to be talking about tips and tactics to formulate research projects, things that you might already be doing or things you could easily integrate so that it's not an entirely separate project and endeavor, but an add-on or a grab on to what you're already doing. So we're going to be talking about working with your students, using your own teaching and courses, collaborating with colleagues. We're going to ask you to share some ideas that you have that we might not have thought of. And today joining me are Sergey, Frank, and Holly. And so again, these are these themes of generating a research project, which you probably are already doing some of it. We're trying to work smarter and not necessarily harder, especially at this time of the semester. So with that, I'll hand it off to Sergey to get us started.
Thank you, Lisa, and glad to see so many people here, and I'm really happy to be a part of this center, and especially happy to share with you some of my kind of insights and maybe tips and maybe some advices and sharing primarily my own experience, and maybe that would kind of enlighten you in a certain way and help you to establish and incorporate more research into your teaching. So I have some, general, obviously pedagogical statements that we already essentially know that, the more practically inclined your course curriculum or course delivery is, the easier it's for students to learn it, the more impactful it is for them. And then the more relevant it's going to be for their real life experiences. So kind of maybe skipping on that, what I would like to emphasize is first of all, the realization that we're not a research institution, we are a teaching institution, and our workload was supposed to be primarily focused on teaching. Yet it's kind of nice to incorporate research into your curriculum, and also a lot of us do have a passion for research. So I myself, came to teaching from a research job. So I was primarily a researcher, and teaching was my secondary duty. So then, it kind of switched, but I naturally really interested in continuing my research. So I was looking for opportunities to do it. So what would I like to highlight here? That the challenge of doing research while you are primarily teaching is, number one, to find money for that. Number one, to find time for that. And number one is to have help to do this, to carry this research. One way how I try to manage all of this, I try to blend it all together. And I'm just gonna probably, if I may, move to a couple slides forward, maybe. I don't know how to do this. Am I have the, Lisa, are you doing the slides, right? I think I don't have a good order. Maybe skip few first slides. I'm being disorganized today. Probably one more. I don't want to show, this is a good one maybe, right? So I wanted to introduce more research content to my some regular courses, and then some courses that we offer are naturally research-based. So in a way, maybe it is easier for me because I am from biology, and we already have courses such as a senior seminar in biology that is research-based. However, what I would like to use today as an example is our biochemistry lab course. And if we move to the next slide, probably would be easier for me to explain what I want to say. So, in teaching biochemistry lab, the purpose of that lab is to really teach students some essential laboratory techniques listed here. They probably wouldn't tell you much, but let me just say them: expression of proteins, their purification, and then their characterization, and via different methods, and then basically doing different enzymatic reactions. So that is basically a content of any biochemistry laboratory course, just to study, to be able to obtain proteins and then be able to analyze them. So, and traditionally it's done by basically purchasing some sort of preset reagents, some kits from some educational / biotechnological companies, and then you have all what you need in order to teach students those techniques. So I approached it a little bit more creatively, I guess, and again, with an interest to do a research that I'm interested in. So instead of introducing all these techniques as a separate class sessions, I blended they all under one long semester-long research project, right? So that allowed me to still kind of teach them all the techniques and all the science behind those techniques that they're supposed to learn, but all that was done under the umbrella of a novel research. So what are the benefits again for students? They definitely much more interested in the class because they kind of see the value, and there is this unknown excitement, and there's always going to be unpredicted challenges, which makes it a little bit more interesting for them because like facing real life experience. On my side, it's there are challenges and the benefits. So benefits, I have now an opportunity to house my research at the campus, right? So to support this course, I need to provide my students with reagents, with equipment that is necessary for this research, and that is a big deal, right? So I'm already gaining those. I am gaining an opportunity to do some sort of trials in my research. So we need to realize that the downside of this, that students cannot perform a quality research when they do it for the first time. It's just an attempt, it's just to see what works, what doesn't work. So, but that is still very informative for the research itself because it informs me as a scientist or a researcher what to do or what not to do, and what maybe needs to be an improvement, what needs to be repeated, stuff like this. Also, it raises awareness among students what kind of research is available on campus. So then when I have more of a targeted kind of courses, such as a senior seminar in biology, when students are supposed to do research, they already mindful that this type of research is available, and they already kind of at some level are prepared to conduct that research a little bit more effectively. Again, that generates even more workforce, let's say, for this type of research. It generates more reagents can be purchased, equipment can be purchased. So it actually creates a very nice foundation for the research to occur. Once again, so that is as a huge benefit. It's a specifically big deal in biological research when reagents and equipment are very, very expensive, and you need to invest in that. So investing in the research through academic needs is a really nice way to do it. The other way how we were able to support this research is by applying for students fellowships in research. And I'm sure there is an opportunities, other disciplines, and I just really want to highlight to you all guys. I think it is I know it is easier to write to help the student, right, to prepare a research fellowship application than writing these big, giant, grown-up applications. So they're much more concise, smaller. There is less competition among them usually. So we already got 2 fellowships to support students' research. One from a Tri-Beta Biological Honor Society, and the other was from a National Molecular Biology and Biochemistry Society. So those not a huge monies, but they only go for reagents in my case. So it's very helpful to move along research in this level. The big advice, I guess, and the lesson I'm learning from all of this, that the university is interested in elevating its research standing and all across all disciplines, and there is always academic support. So if your research is blended as a part of academic course, then there is a really nice opportunities to build up your research foundation. The second support is not necessarily looking for a faculty research application that we all do, right? But also consider applications for your students. So once they go through a course like this, once they build their own research standing, and they do a little bit of research with you on the side, they build their own portfolio for to be more eligible for their own fellowship applications. The downside of this, well, number one, obviously it's much more challenging to run a course like this, and simply because you need to prepare pretty much all reagents. So even though you do have maybe finances to provide, but it's not usually that you can just go and buy it, because it's usually very unique. So you need to obviously spend a little bit more time outside of the class time, more than you would do for a regular course, to prepare all the necessary reagents. And then also, as it's ongoing research, the challenge and the excitement is that there is this fluidity and unpredictability what you're going to actually provide for your next class, because it depends what you accomplished in previous courses. So in a way, for me, the most productive way is almost have 2 parallel processes when students do their own research in the lab, and they since it's the first time, they kind of fail and mess it up, and then I myself do everything in parallel. So actually I have more quality reagents to provide for the next step, so they can carry on as a whole uninterrupted research. So that is a challenge. The other challenge then, you do rely on students' help, and we always have super skilled and capable students, but it takes time to train them. And then once you train them and they perfectly doing everything, that's time for them to graduate. So you don't really have a long-lasting support here. So it's all on the graduate level. So that's probably, I don't know how much time I suppose. Lisa, do I have more time, right?
Probably just another minute to wrap up. So
yeah, so just to wrap it up, so students do want to do research, they do value that experience, they don't know how, again, I'm talking from biology, but they really appreciate you when you provide them with those kind of opportunities, and when you spend your time guiding them and do this baby steps with them, because it's all very scary for them. But once they go through, they do learn a lot. They really gain a lot. It really positions them well for their next step in their academic endeavors. From my perspective, it's also a huge deal, because it provides me with a lab. Then I have reagents and I have equipment that I can carry out my own research, primarily on my own, and primarily with more kind of individualized project. But yet it fits big time in courses like, in this case, biochemistry lab, also genetics labs, and some other experiences like honor project and so on, when the need for directed research is more obvious. Thank you, guys. If you have questions, I'll be super excited to talk to you.
Thanks, Sergey. And next, we'll turn it over to Frank.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be joining you. So to zoom back out, Sergey gave us a really good example of a very specific reason and example of a very positive relationship in terms of doing research in the classroom. And I think it's a great example of what, when we zoom out, we think of as a positive experience being complementary, okay? If you notice, it's spelled complementary in terms of angles, not in terms of being nice to somebody and paying them a compliment. We want, we're all very busy, okay? Teaching a 404 load is very time consuming. And that's just a 404 load. Who knows? You know, teaching overloads, doing whatever. Beyond that, beyond teaching your normal load, you have department service, you have university service, which can take up a lot of your time. And so when we think about both teaching and service, something that I think many people sometimes leave to the side is, yeah, if I can get to it, I'll do some research. If there's time left over, or in the summer, and then you go on summer vacation and you're on vacation, you're like, in the fall, I'm going to be super ready to do this. So sometimes we're human, and you know, we tend to prioritize what we think needs to be done immediately. So I think what we can argue is that the more things that we can do symbiotically together, the better. And a great way to do this is to incorporate your research into your teaching, and vice versa. It's a two-way street that will both improve your teaching and increase your possibility to do research. It'll be a much more efficient and rewarding experience. So Lisa, if we can go forward. One of the biggest benefits that I get from, you know, my research is on my teaching skill level, both in terms of content and in terms of technique. So I have to teach undergraduate methods courses, and being able to talk to students about how to do research because I've done research is very valuable. But it's also very valuable in terms of content specific areas. If you have experience writing a literature review in a certain area, your ability to talk to students about what is going on in that subfield, for example, in polarization, which is something I have researched a lot, something I've worked on a lot, I'm teaching a class on polarization right now. The ability to know what readings are appropriate for these students, the ability to know the types of topics that they can sink their teeth into, what they will be able to you know, learn. The fact that I'm doing research helps my teaching. The hours that I spend researching on these topics, those are hours that basically can double as course prep hours in that way. You know, when we get emails about, hey, we need, which I actually have to do that, your your books for the fall, right? I think the 15th is when we need these in by, if I'm not mistaken. Understanding the current research, the current literature in these areas that you're researching means that you're going to be able to give your students cutting edge stuff to study, to look at, to read, not just in terms of textbooks, but in terms of supplementary materials, and on and on. So that's a big benefit. Being able to explain your own findings. So if you're actually doing the research in this area, I found that, I mean, when I'm talking about something very boring like congressional procedure, which is boring, okay? But I like it. And I've studied a lot and published stuff on, different Senate procedures, which once again, I don't expect anyone to be interested by. However, being able to tell students in my Congress class, this is stuff that I have done. This is stuff that I've studied. This is stuff that I've worked on. Strangely enough, students sometimes feel like their professors are cooler than they actually are. Like, oh, wow, you did this? This is cool. Like, if I type your name into Google Scholar, this comes in. Like, yes, it does. And for whatever reason, they seem to be more interested in the material because the person who's done research on it is sitting right there in front of them. Obviously, this doesn't apply to everything, but being able to explain things because you've done research in the topic is a big benefit for student engagement. And I found, at least in reading student feedback, that it's very valuable, very helpful. It also shows, I think, that if students see that I can do it, I mean, I joke around, I have a good time with them. They think, well, if this guy can do it, I could probably do something like this. It's not impossible. It's something that's doable, which then leads to your students thinking, hey, when I need to do my capstone, when I need to work on an honors project, when I need to work on something for this class, I have a faculty member that I know has done something like this, and it's accessible, it's doable, it's there for me to do. So engagement, content knowledge, technique knowledge, research can really help your teaching. Lisa? Thank you. On the flip side, I think teaching also can help your research. I can't begin to say how often I've had positive experiences of thinking of questions to generate, to study based on conversations I've had in class about these different topics. And it sometimes comes from very unexpected people in the classroom or very unexpected times, opening up your class and talking about conducting research and doing research. It's kind of like having 20 or 30 research assistants sitting in front of you, time after time again. There's more eyes on the topic. There's more brain power being used. You don't need to formally say, hey guys, I need a question that I need to study, or can you give me the answer to this? That's what Center for Research, workshops are for. But just having an outside perspective can generate really good ideas that I have used to study with sometimes these students. If you're sharing your research with students before you've submitted it to reviewers, or you have new ideas about something you're working on, students could sometimes anticipate the types of reviews you might get from some reviewers. You might think, oh, man, this is amazing. Guys, look at this research I'm doing. This is awesome. And then you get a question from the first student who looks at it and you're like, well, back to the drawing board, right? Because the great thing about getting comments from students in this respect is they don't need to actually know how to generate the stuff, but they do know how to poke holes in your argument and make you refine your theories and eliminate alternative explanations. They're great at providing alternative explanations. I can tell you that much for sure in all in all respects when you're arguing over grades or whatever. So it's very helpful there. And you can kind of think about it as sometimes each individual class period has the potential to be a symposium on your research. Now, you shouldn't use your class as an excuse for your research. It should be complementary. So if you find things that that are relevant to the course, that are important for them to learn, yes, by all means, use your own research because it's going to help them and it's going to help you down the road. So I think it's positive. And also invite colleagues to present to your class when they have things that are relevant to your course. It's a great way to get more people involved. Lisa? Lots of examples. We saw a big example from Sergio. We're going to see more examples from Holly in a second. But I've worked with students to develop questions for our polling institute. Something students love doing. They are really interested in finding things out and learning about what's going on in the world. And when they find that we have this ability to go out and ask 1,000 people in the country about these topics, they perk up. They get interested in this. Integrating data gathered from research into methods courses. This is a big benefit if you ever have to teach an undergraduate methods course or even a graduate methods course. Knowing the data because you collected it makes it much easier to teach the data. You don't need to worry about what is this variable. Oh wait, how is this coded? Oh, where's the code book for this? You've done it and you can use it with the students. Develop classes, special topics classes even, that go to your research interests as long as they're relevant to the student program that you're working through. But a lot of times it will be. Being able to evaluate learning by adding pre-tests at the beginning and exams and the exam later in the class is the post-test. This is stuff that you're going to be able to do to present at learning conferences all the time and education conferences all the time. So I don't know, I think 2:30 is my thing, but think about different ways you can use what even the students generate in their learning as a way to do research, which is, not everyone likes doing assessment stuff. That's not always the most fun thing to do, but in that way, it's almost a triple play. You use your teaching, which helps your assessment, which could be service, and it helps with your research. These are things that you could, one day eventually present if you're using a different type of methodology or pedagogy in what you're doing. So be complementary, use this stuff. If you find situations where something's going to be beneficial to your research and beneficial to the students, go for it, and don't be afraid to try it. So that's more of a broad view of this.
Thank you, Frank. Also just want to add in quickly that there is a Journal of Scholarship of Teaching and Learning that hones in on this and accepts articles and studies regarding this connection between teaching and research. So all of those types of studies you might do about your teaching, this could be a potential place for those to go.
Lisa, I forgot that was my slide too. My bad.
That's okay, no worries. Well, thank you, Frank. And now we're going to hand it over to Holly.
Good segue. It's all about collaboration, and I'm glad to see a few people popping in on the chat because I'm going to model this idea of collaborating with your colleagues by asking a few people in the presentation today, because I know you do this because I've collaborated with some of you all, but we know that one of these main themes, I think, in Sergey's and in Frank's presentation, I would say, is the proverbial working smarter, not harder. Whether it is, with your students and the deep connection, as Frank has really illustrated, with improving your teaching practices. And I'm going to bring in this element of working with your colleagues. And I think it's a hallmark of what the kind of research that many of us have been able to do at St. Leo. And with Lisa's, with the Center for Research, and Lisa, I'm going to hope you're going to chime in too. We've already kicked off a number of presentations, workshops like this and like others that really illustrated and highlighted that critical role that working with your colleagues can be to make the research more robust and make the research even more doable too. So next slide. So this is one of those examples, comes from social work, grad and undergrad social work. And this was a Photovoice project, as you can see. And I think this is a great example of a number of faculty members coming together around a central project. Again, it was on Photovoice research, and making this research happen, making the activity happen, and coming together then to present that research in this form. Lisa, do you want to jump in and say anything about this particular project?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I think that this yearly event is a good example of how we can use something that's already taking place that is for the community as well as for our students to volunteer at and learn skills to then engage in and do a study. So the idea is that, we don't do anything just for one benefit, that there's multiple benefits to doing that. So if we're already having an event and we're already working together with other faculty as well as students doing a variety of things, why not add an evaluation component or a Photovoice qualitative or quantitative study that can also then be presented or published, as well as all the benefits that come from this very big event and all the benefits the students get, not only from the event, but then interacting and engaging with that research project.
And so we have multiple things going on here. We have research, we also have university service. So again, that idea of collaborating with others and working smarter, let's see how we can make those arrows fit. And of course, then everything with our model is bringing it back to our teaching. So again, that intentionality, that collaboration, I think it makes the tasks that we engage in our scholarship and our service a lot more doable, because we're not doing disconnected, oh, now I have to run to this and then I have to do this, but really being able to see those arrows fit. And I think that that's what makes for strong portfolios as well, because they all do connect together. Okay, next slide. So one of my favorite collaborators is Rhonda Waddell. We have taken this idea with Photovoice, which began actually with me knowing just enough to kind of be dangerous, right? And then take it on where Rhonda said, hey, would you like to take this course during the summer? And so I took that, learned more about Photovoice. Lots of things spun off from that, including a whole online research course on Photovoice research. But she and I have also written articles, done presentations nationally, internationally. And I think that, again, there's that collegial conversations that spawn some of these ideas. So what else could we do? We're really focusing on this. We're learning more as researchers. It's ongoing. We feel like we've got some expertise. We're doing these projects. How can we build upon that? So again, not doing just sort of disconnected activities, but if you're passionate about this particular topic, then what more could we do? What kind of articles can we publish? And then also, how can we share that with others? And how can we bring others into that fold of helping them see different forms of research? Next slide. So I love bragging about our college. I mean, because there's a great deal of collegiality, as there are throughout the university. But the journal club, I think, is a great model that can definitely be replicated throughout the university. And basically, this is the brainchild of Rhonda Waddell, who continues to be the ringleader of all these things that come in the journal club. And it really simply started as a way to bring faculty together we read a book together about writing groups, and really to see organically how this journal club would take shape. And I see people that are in the webinar today that have been longtime participants in it. And I think you all can speak to the fact that just being able to have a structure and a venue to have conversations, learning about the kinds of research that your colleagues can do. Every time I go to the journal club, I'm always saying to myself, wow, I never knew they were doing that. And then I'm making connections with my own areas with education. And again, I'll let Lisa talk about some of the ways that she's also using the Center for Research to bring people together so that you can find out, because you may be in your own department, your own college, you may know the work that's there, but you may not know that there's somebody over in the College of Business that actually has a real expertise in a type of assessment maybe that would inform your own research. And that kind of interdisciplinary connections, again, it takes that collegiality and that collaboration, I think, to even a next, second, and third level. So Lisa, did you want to jump in with some of the ways that the Center for Research is building on that idea of collaboration among colleagues?
Sure, thank you. So building on the journal club idea, we've started a research meetup club. It's once a month, and it's the same idea as the journal club, where a variety of faculty can come together. We can talk about our research. We can think of ways we might want to work together if that's something we're interested in. We can also talk about when we're stuck in a research project or a study and we need a little guidance, and there's help there. So it's just a meetup to support and also provide some accountability. So since the last meeting, Lisa, what have you done? Next steps on your research, or what's going on now? So just that support for 1 hour a month can really make a difference in forwarding your research and also meeting other people from all these different disciplines. And you'd be surprised how many people might have something similar that they're interested in as well, especially when we're doing research about our students and our courses and pedagogy. That bridges most disciplines. So that's one area that we're joining together to do that. So if you're interested in the Research Meetup Club once a month, you can send me an email or one to the Center for Research at stleo.edu. Another thing we're starting is a Pomodoro writing group, and we have one, but we can start as many as needed. And Pomodoro is a time management method which brings people together. You state your intention for writing, 10 quick minutes for everyone to do a quick go around, then cameras and mics go off and writing starts. And about 25 minutes later, we check in, how's it going? Quick check-in, support, encouragement, motivation, complaining is allowed, whatever you want to say. And then mics and cameras go off again, and there's more writing. And we do that for about 2 hours back and forth. I wasn't sure how this would work, and I joined a Pomodoro group earlier this semester, and I can't tell you how helpful it's been to actually forwarding my writing, the support from colleagues. We are all in the same boat. You know, it's not working today, help, but took me 25 minutes to get a sentence down. We all go through it, and it's good to support each other and recognize and validate that, you know, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's flowing. Sometimes it's, you know, all of that in between. So we have, I'm happy to start Pomodoras or get you started on Pomodoro writing groups. About 5 people is probably ideal. So again, let me know if you're interested in doing that. A few other tidbits I'll add in, because I just stress that I really never do something for one outcome. I just never do it. I don't know if that comes from being a parent or whatever, but it's always maximize, you know, my efforts to get the most products and outcomes out of whatever I do. So this semester, or I'm sorry, fall semester, I started a student club. It was just meant to help them learn about a subspecialty of social work, forensic social work, since a lot of them seem to be interested in it. And I thought, you know, let them kind of take charge of this club since they are so powerless and feeling anxious about that. So I gave them a voice and vote, and they're kind of in charge of it. And I thought, well, why not? I might as well evaluate like how it's going, what's going on. So made up a quick questionnaire of about 12 items, give it to them every few months. Lo and behold, you wouldn't believe what I found. Some of them said, this group is keeping me motivated to stay in the program. Never expected that. This group is reducing my anxiety, my stress. I feel less isolated. I love this group. I wish it was a class. I wish it was a class too. It's so easy. All I do is get guest speakers from forensic social work to come in. But the point is that I used that data to present at a national conference just 2 weeks ago. Just because I took the extra few minutes or time to add in that evaluation component. So I urge you to do that when you're doing something new and exciting, you know, pedagogy in a class, different types of, you know, active learning, a different assignment, any and all of that. Join with colleagues, see if it works across sections, see if it works across disciplines. So there's a lot of ways that you're already working hard that you can add a little bit and get more outcomes, from all of your work. So I want to take this moment and ask you all if you had some ideas you could share with us, because we're always looking for ideas on how we can maximize our time and blend, you know, this research and teaching. Any ideas that you all could talk about? Like, put it in the chat. We'd love to hear your voice. If you want to pop on that microphone, don't be shy. Anything you've tried to engage students in or colleagues to make this easier rather than harder.
Lisa, I have some research that I'm conducting in 2 of my courses, and they both align to assignments. And so what we've done is the course developer and I, and one of my colleagues at my previous spot, we created these assignments to just, I guess, dig a little deeper into our questioning. And to explore, you know, what students are seeing out in the field and what they're capturing and bringing back into the assignment and then discussing it. And that's been very helpful, because it's been very difficult to get into districts, as you know, because of the pandemic and so forth, and post-pandemic, and now it's assessments. And so we've done this creative way of kind of using our students to kind of capture what's going on in the field. So that's been very helpful. I do have a question about the IRB process and course assignments. You know, sometimes it seems like there's an IRB that's required. Sometimes it seems like there's not, because it's connected to a course assignment. So if you could provide any clarity about that. And also journal venues. So there seem to be like a handful for higher education. And so I'm wondering if there's any way possibly, you know, in the future you could share maybe a list of journals like you did today, which was so very helpful, of those different venues that we can consider when we do some of this higher ed type of research, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. That's an excellent example as well. Thank you for sharing that. That's a good question about the IRB. So what the IRB would say is if you're doing an evaluation and it's solely just for you to inform your teaching and make improvements, make changes, et cetera, for your teaching, and you don't plan to present it or publish it, then it doesn't need an IRB. However, if you plan on, presenting it at a conference or comparing it and using it as a, maybe generalizing to a broader group of students or publishing it, then you do require an IRB approval for that.
Okay, very good. With the consent forms and so forth. Okay.
The whole thing. Yep. And that's a great idea. We could search and look for some other higher ed journal, periodicals that might be, potential for this work.
Great, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Candace?
Yeah, I just dropped a link in the chat. The Center for Teaching and Learning Excellence website has a page under the scholarship area called Scholarly Journals About Teaching and Learning. And so there's a whole host of journals and conferences that you can present. It looks like there's probably 15, maybe 20. Everything from the Journal of Scholarship for Teaching and Learning, the Teaching Professor, College Teaching, Currents in Teaching and Learning, Insights, the Journal of Scholarly Teaching, Active Learning in Higher Ed. There's a whole bunch of resources there. So I really encourage faculty to go there and look for places to present and places to submit their manuscripts.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Candace. So all that work is done. I'm crossing it off my to-do list. Thank you.
And if there's something not on here that is not, we don't post the content specific conferences because we'd never be able to keep up with that for everybody's discipline. But this is an entire page on teaching and learning. So anything that you're doing, any research you're doing about teaching and learning, this is where you could go to present or to submit.
Wonderful. Thank you. Georgina, could you share your item because you put it in the chat and it sounds so interesting.
Yeah, and Karen and Rini, I think is who else is there. They're part of the collaboration. I guess I can say pilot because we have collaboration within our sections before, and then last term, Rini and I had students that would like, yeah, okay, we think it can work because the peers want to work with one another, and then this term we had several requests from students asking if they could collaborate with their peers, but their peers weren't in the same section as they were. So as a team of professors, we decided to give it a go, and it's been really interesting to say the least. We have students pairing up with other students in other sections, collaborating on the assignments are the same. It's the same course, different. We have professors collaborating, doing live sessions together. We have professors collaborating, writing students. And there's all these different variations of collaboration that have resulted from, just allowing to collaborate, even if their peers are not in the same section. So I was saying to both Karen and Rini that, that would probably be an interesting study to look at, especially with all the interpersonal skills. Some interesting things have arisen because of scheduling and it's teams of more than 3 or 4 people, things like that. And that's why I said maybe a collaboration with psychology that look at aspects of interdisciplinary or interactions when you are in different occasions. We're all online, we're all different sections. So it's just been very interesting. I've learned a little bit about myself, and I think that most of us probably. But what I've learned is that we have created a different avenue for our students that constantly saying that they appreciate us, they appreciate our flexibility, they appreciate that we've allowed them to deepen, if you will, their relationships with peers that they fully have met through the program and are at the tail end, like this is their last semester before they graduate, and giving them opportunities to really not only share knowledge that they're gaining from being in the course, but sharing ideas, networking, because they're getting ready to go in beyond, practicing professional that they've been in a program for 2 years to get to. So I think it's been really interesting. I don't know, Rini and Karen probably share their experience also. So I was saying, I think it would make for a good study to see how that all evolved.
Absolutely. That's so interesting. Thank you for sharing that. There's so many layers to that, so many benefits. Well, that's excellent. Anyone else like to share an idea or tip or tactic that you might have used? And I see Candace put in another link in the chat for us. Thank you. I think that one area that I would recommend to help connecting outside of St. Leo, even to others who might be doing similar research, is to use ResearchGate. I have found this platform to be extremely helpful. It is free. You create a little account. And it's really all about research. So researchers are sharing their ideas, they're sharing their publications, they're sharing their information, they're sharing their expertise, they're posting on different things that they're working on. When you go on there, you can follow people in your research area or discipline area. They can follow you. People can ask for prints of your publications. Many times I can get them well before the library because they're posting the minute that they publish it. And then if I send them a message, I get the PDF or the article or whatever within days versus maybe weeks waiting for it to come out in print or into a library. It's extremely helpful. I've learned a lot. I can go on and just stay up to date with my topics. So I find ResearchGate to be extremely helpful. It's very professional. There's never been any, inappropriateness or whatever that I've encountered in that platform. So I think it could be a great help, just for you for outside of St. Leo as well to connect and work with others. I'm going to put in a link to a really quick little item, a little survey, hoping that you wouldn't mind filling it out, but we're trying to collect people's research areas and topics that they work in to create a directory or a database that would be available so that we know what each other's research interests and expertise is. So we would love to collect that and then start creating this database or directory, and we would house it on our website. And our website is going to start being built this summer. We're very excited about that. We have a lot of resources and that we'd like to share. We'd also like to make sure that information is very clear and transparent for all of you. When you're looking for information regarding anything research, that you can go to the Center for Research website and find it there. So again, we do have an email if you'd like to reach out to us, if you're interested in that Pomodoro writing group or just want to hear a little bit more detail or if you're interested in that monthly research meetup group, love to have you join us. Or if you just want to hear more first before committing, that's fine too. So we really thank you all for being here today and really appreciate your support. And thank you so much to Candace, Robert, Seidel, and her team, especially Carrie, for helping us have this here and supporting us and working together with us. So we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Lisa. We heard such good things about the presentations at Faculty Development Day that we were thrilled to be able to, support another iteration of it here today. I think there's such a need for it for our faculty. And, when we think about ways of supporting and serving faculty, I can't think of a more meaningful way. So I really appreciate the work that you and the Center for Research and your colleagues are doing. And I can't wait to see your website up and running. And we're going to be looking forward to linking to it so faculty can find it on our website too.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy to hang on the line if there's any other questions or comments from anyone. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Happy to send out slides to everyone, to anyone.
We typically, when we host or co-host an event, we usually also put the slides on the website as a webinar. We put the slides and the recording. So if that's okay
Perfect.
with you, we can do that. I mean, you could still send them to people. I mean, you could do it however you want, but we
Sounds
typically do.
perfect. Thank
We
you.
had about 20 registered, not counting I don't think counting your presenters and definitely not counting our team. And we had a few less than that today. So I suspect there were others who were definitely interested who probably would want to, if they have time, to see the recording.
Absolutely. Happy for that. Thank you. Thank you.